Hi everyone and welcome back to the third video of this project. So in the previous video we came across an error with LangChain prompts and LangChain chains. So we are going to fix that in the first part of this video. So what I'd like to do is open a new terminal and here I'm going to do pip install LangChain core. So basically, LangChain has updated and they no longer use LangChain.prompts and LangChain.chains does not, and LLM chain has been deprecated, which means it doesn't exist anymore. So I had already installed LangChain core. So all you have to do is change this to LangChain core and this will get fixed. But now we have to do a few changes. We're going to remove this first import of LLM chain. We're going to come down here and we're going to make name chain as we're going to change it to prompt template name. So prompt, prompt template name. And we're going to put this bar. You can put this bar on your keyboard by clicking shift and the backslash, and you have to type in LLM. So because we have imported LLM from communities and we have made a variable here called LLM. Now there's going to be a small change to the response also. So we're going to change this from name chain to we're going to make it name chain dot invoke and everything will be same here. But now here we're going to change it. And as here before there was an output key given science answer, we're going to make it a dictionary and we're going to say science answer. We're going to make it as science answer and here response. So this is going to be the few changes that we're going to make to this project, this side of the project. Now we're going to make a new file, and here I have a new file. It's titled untitled one, but I'm going to save it, and I'm going to name it as Streamlit UI. You can just name it .py, and I'm going to save that. Now, this is going to be the part where we make the UI. So, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import the previous file and I'm going to import Streamlit. So, first, let me import the previous file. So, I'm going to import project1 as P1 and I'm going to import Streamlit as ST. So, again, it's a bit dark because we haven't used it yet in our code. So, let me come down and now Streamlit has a few functions and one of that is title. And now I'm getting few suggestions here because I've already done this project a few times before. So st.title and we can make it as science insight chatbot. And again, because this is the UI, you can name it whatever you want depending on any customizations that you've made. So then we're going to make a small header and this header is basically going to be like a subtitle and I'm going to say ask your science questions here. So this is going to be like a small subtitle. So after that, what we can do, we can go to the next part, which is going to take a question from the user. So I'm going to say user question equals st dot sidebar dot text area. And sidebar is basically going to create a small sidebar in the UI or website where all this will be inputted. So it will be a small sidebar just like this, where the user will type their question and the main answer will come in the main screen over here. Like this is just an example of how it will look. So I'm going to put the label as what is your question and I'm going to put the max chars, which is going to be the maximum amount of characters that they can put as 150 And next, I'm going to say user chatbot type. And user chatbot type is going to be a select box from the sidebar again. And we're going to say what type of chatbot would you like? Would you like? And here we're going to make it as a few options, which we are going to denote using a bracket. So I'm going to say we leave one blank as it's going to take blank as default. And what we can do here is leave it blank so that they will have to select an option to go to the next step. Or if we type in this, then it's going to automatically have a default. But instead, we want the user to select by themselves. So we're going to leave one blank. And here I'm going to put precise and maybe informational. Or let me just say balanced first, which is again, we are going to set the temperatures using this balanced. And we have precise and creative. So, creative, as I said, it's going to have the highest temperature, and precise is going to have the lowest temperature, and balance is going to have the medium temperature. So after this, I'm going to make user insight type. So as you can see, we already have user insight type. And again, st.sidebar.select box. Again, we're going to leave one blank. And before this, we have to ask the question. We're going to say, how would you like your answer to be formatted? And as before, we're going to put a comma, brackets, blank. And here you can put any options that you want. First, I'm going to put it as detailed, and then I'm going to put it as concise, which means it's going to be small. Then I'm going to put it as for articles. Now, for articles will give more like a personal opinion type. And then we have explanation. And then I'm going to say maybe short but informational, and etc. etc. You can type in as much as you want. So then, next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do an if condition, and I'm going to say if user chatbot type equals to, let's say, balanced, because that's what we've selected. We have made option here balanced, creative, and precise. So I'm going to say if the option which they select is balanced, then temperature 0.5, as 0.5 is the balanced. Then we have, if it's precise, it's going to be 0.2, or we can set it as 0.1 to make it completely um, precise, and it won't be creative, and it's going to be more informational, and it's going to explain in a more serious professional tone compared to creative. And then we are using elif here as else if, and if finally it's creative, we're going to set temperature to 0.8, 0.9, 0.7, anything, but it should be above 0.5. So I'm going to set it to 0.8. So this is going to be our elif conditions. And then we're going to move on to the next part where I'm going to say if st.sidebar get science insight or maybe get answer, then I'm going to get an answer. And until this button is pressed, I'm not going to get any answer. And then we're going to say if user question. if user question and user chatbot type and user insight type, then only I want the answer. Because let's say the user leaves some field blank, then I don't want it to generate an answer. So then I'm going to say response response is equal to p1 dot generate answer, as we made a function in the previous code which is generate function, and this is going to get us the answer. So I'm going to say generate answer, and I'm going to say user question, then user chatbot type, user insight type, and finally temperature. So user chatbot type, user insight type, and temperature. As insight type has already, I mean, as temperature has already been set here, we can go to the next step, and we are going to do st.text. So this is basically going to make normal text in the main screen instead of in the sidebar. And I'm going to say response science answer as usual. And I'm going to make an else, and I'm going to say please provide all inputs in the sidebar. So this is basically going to ensure that the user fills in all the fields for them to get an answer. So with this, we're done with our first project. So let's run this. So let's open a new terminal. So I'm going to go to terminal, click new terminal. And here I'm going to say Python slash Python minus M. And here I'm going to say Streamlit run Streamlit UI, and make sure that you notice the spelling as it should be the exact same of what we have typed. And I'm going to hit enter. And now this is going to either redirect you or it's going to give you a website URL. And as you can see, for me, it redirected. And it just if we just give it a second, it will load in. And it's going to be a local host because that's where most Streamlit is deployed. Let's just give it a second to load. Okay, so as you can see, the screen has loaded and you can see our UI over here. We have the title, we have the subtitle, which is the header, we have the question area, we have the what chatbot would we like, and we also have what would we like our answer to be formatted. So let me ask a question, and I'm going to ask how far is the Earth from the sun? And it's as you can see here also, it's tracking the characters, so it's only going to let me 150. And then I'll say I want a precise chatbot and I want it to be formatted in a concise way, and I'm going to say get answer. So as you can see, it has given us an answer saying the earth is approximately 93 million miles away from the sun. We can change the question on the spot here to something like what, or something like how many animal species are there in the earth. And you can just experiment with all of this from precise to, let's say, creative, and from concise to like an explanation. And we can click get answer. And again, we can just wait for it to give us an answer. So as you can see, it gave us a pretty detailed answer because we asked an explanation. So you can just go through this if you want, and you can try your own experiments. You can ask any questions. And as I said, as I've given the keyword as science answer, it's going to give me more scientific answer for the questions that I ask. So this is how you build a project which can basically which has its own UI using Streamlit, and which uses OpenAI API key to answer your question using the GPT LLM. So this is how you can build this. So I will see you in the next project.